If you'd like to ask me any question, no topic is off limits, then please join us Thursdays at 12:15 Central Standard Time for our Throwback Thursday show, where you can interact with me live. For more information, please visit our Daisy Girl Communications Facebook page or email me at daisygirlcommunications@gmail.com. All of the benefits you do. So that's going to be something that we cover in more depth, or, forcing individuals to do certain things or instilling dependency or obedience. And that's really where we see that we are instilling obedience to an organization under the guise that it's a quote unquote good or righteous thing to do. So that's kind of that behavioral control.
Yeah, I just have one question for you, actually, looking at this bite model, because there's so many criteria here. When Hassan wrote this, did he do anything similar to like what you do with the DSM, where it's like if there's 3 out of these 5 or 6 out of 10, then you've fallen into that realm of really being a cult? Nothing like that. Okay.
No. So Mason, as you're looking at this, so for those of you who don't have this handout right in front of you, the second page of the undue influence and the bite model, what the second page is the bite model broken down. So we have the B is behavioral control, I is information control, T is thought control, E is emotional control. So again, we're really focusing on how by utilizing undue influence, you infiltrate every aspect of a human or the followers of an organization, and how the leaders or the leadership of the cult gain control over those aspects. Right. And so really, I would say that if you can check off all of these numbers that he has or these examples that he's giving on this worksheet, the more check marks you have, the more severe you are in the spectrum. So then you would be looking at this like regulating an individual's physical reality. If let's say I'm an emotional abuser and I have one of my kids thinking that if they don't eat their green beans, aliens are going to abduct them, I'm using cult-like mentality to control my child. That's a problem. But you can also have an individual's reality be, you can't get back to heaven unless you A, B, C, and D, obey these commandments and all these extra rules. And it's a control thing where when you don't do it, we're going to apply certain shaming things. That's where like religions get in trouble, because it might be something like, we need to love one another. That's a great thing. But then when we start to shame and punish and do certain things when somebody doesn't practice the ideal, how far into that spectrum of controlling somebody's physical reality, where are we at, or their emotional reality or their spiritual reality. Right. So the more check marks you get on this, the more likely you are to be identified as a cult. But anytime somebody is utilizing undue influence to control an area on this, there's a level of relationship toxicity going on. So hopefully that clarifies that.
Very much so. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So the I in this bite model is information control. And that would be, that he's got 6 different things. So deception, so deliberately withholding information, minimizing or discouraging access to non-cult sources of information. So in Mormonism, that would be don't read anything about the Mormon Church that's not published by the Mormon Church. That's where this would come in, compartmentalization of information. So you kind of get this idea of insider versus outsider, and, it's kind of like elevating, we are super special because we have the whole truth, and everybody on the outside, they're all missing information, but some of what they have is good, but they don't have it all. So we're more special. So that's kind of some examples of information control. And of course, as we go through these examples over the next several weeks, we're going to be filling in and going much more into depth on this.
Right. You're essentially going to use the bite model to kind of
Right. Break down the
codify
topics.
whatever topic it is and see how well this fits into
Right.
what's going on.
And one of the things, Mason, is that you and I had talked about was we were going to take like the bite model and maybe do, 2 to 4 episodes on the B, and then 2 to 4 episodes on the I, and then 2 to 4 episodes on the T as it relates to Mormonism. And we haven't worked out all the details of how we do that, but we will by tomorrow when we start recording our first Undue Influence episode.
Pieces,
We're gonna just fall into this, right? The next one is the T, or thought control, and these are things like changing a person's name or identity. And in Mormonism, we see this by giving a new name in the temple, or starting to call, if you get the priesthood now, you're elder so-and-so, or bishop so-and-so. We're changing your name, or changing the way that people identify you and interact with you based on certain things, or rejection of rational analysis, critical thinking, and constructive criticism. Like the fact that we cannot apply constructive criticism to the leadership of Mormonism and expect subsequent change, positive or negative, into the organization, again, defines them as a religious cult. So those are some of the thought control. And, one of these is like number 4, encourage only good and proper thoughts. We're trying to thought stop rather than understand why we're having disturbing thoughts, or, quote unquote evil thoughts about somebody. Like I'm thinking bad things. I'm hoping bad things happens to so-and-so. Well, in Mormonism, they use a thought stopping technique, like sing a hymn, change your thoughts, stop thinking that. And really we'll want to be like, I wonder why I'm thinking this. What's going on here? We're stifling curiosity about your own internal workings so that you stay, quote unquote, in control and righteous with that Mormonism thing.
Right.
That's a thought control issue. So again, some of those more subtle things. And I will say that some of those ideas and techniques are actually founded in society. Back in, I'll say 30 years ago, even in mental health, we utilized thought stopping, thinking that that was a good thing. Hey, guess what? The research wasn't supported by the research. And we've since shifted our understanding of that to, more updated practices today. But some of these techniques, especially for our older population, where they were taught thought-stopping techniques, not only in their religion, but in their school and in their society and in their, wellness
their family,
training and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, some of these things are going to be different, but we're going to, again, dig more into that later. And then our last one on the bite model is E, or emotional control. And that is, manipulate and narrow the range of feelings. And so things like thinking that anger is evil and you need to extricate that from you because that's the influence of Satan, or thinking that negative or uncomfortable emotions means that Satan has control of your life. That would be emotion control. Giving people phobias about leaving the group. If you leave the group, you won't be happy. Oh, look how happy you are. Well, that's not real happiness. That's happiness influenced by Satan, like eat, drink, and be merry. That's what that is. That is considered emotion control. And so, a lot of this is about emotion control, instilling fear where fear doesn't need to be there, making a person feel that problems are their own fault. Like the reason you're having all of these problems in your life obviously means that you're not living righteously. That would be another example of emotion control. And so over the next several weeks, Mason, some of the things that we pulled out of the Recovering Agency book that we thought, hey, we might want to dig more into this, were things like mystical manipulation, or loading the language, circular reasoning or closed logic type things, becoming dependent on the church, control of time and money and resources. We wanted to talk about elevated emotion and how the Mormon church defines that as the spirit